There's a good news, Arjun.
Yes.
And the good news is the mountains are calling.
I don't know, बेचारे call कर रहे नहीं कर रहे.
Different people go for different reasons.
That's do go for different reasons.
Not everything can be discussed.
So जहाँ पे मतलब आप माउंटेनियरिंग की बात करो तो लोग बोलते हैं कि हाँ मैं भी पिछले साल वैष्णो देवी गया था. तो I'm like नहीं अंकल ये एवरेस्ट और वैष्णो देवी सेम नहीं हो सकता. You're somebody who I've personally also looked up to always. You are Pahadi by birth, I'm Pahadi by heart. Mountain lifestyle came more naturally to you. हाँ मैं नोएडा से निकला था, मुझे फिर भी ट्रेनिंग करनी पड़ती थी. So I would go early in the morning. तो 3 बजे उठता था, 3:15 बजे तक बाइक पे, and फिर ठंड में हो चाहे गर्मी हो तो 60 kilometers cycling.
There is a good news, another good news actually. That people have started very seriously talking about role of mental health in sports.
Yes. Certain places awareness is coming in. Thankfully we live in India.
Yeah.
अभी भी मुंह लटका के सड़क पे चलो तो 4 जने पूछ ही रहते हैं हाँ भाई क्या हुआ.
So your top 5 strengths are maximizer, strategic, arranger, communication and activator. Which is that one strength which you use really effectively?
मैं बातें बहुत ज़्यादा करता हूँ. And हाँ, I think communication and influencing. And the second one is.
और अर्जुन आगे का क्या प्लान है लाइफ का?
Plan is lots of exciting things. My dream is to.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to On Top of the Game podcast. This is the podcast where we deep dive into the extraordinary lives of remarkable individuals, exploring what makes them not just successful, but truly unstoppable. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce someone who has not only conquered highest peaks on the earth, but also completely redefined what it means to persevere. Arjun Vajpai is a name that everyone relates with courage, adventure, and sheer determination. But for me, this episode is personal because Arjun is not just a guest, he is someone I've had the privilege to know and work with. Arjun, thank you for being here. Let me take you and our listeners back to 2017. And that's when I met you, not as the mountaineering legend the world knows today, but as someone looking to understand their unique strengths. I came to your world as a strength coach, and I'll admit it was humbling learning about the mental and physical challenges you faced climbing some of the world's most daunting peaks. It gave me a whole new appreciation of resilience, discipline, and the human spirit. That first meeting gave me the front row seat to a part of Arjun's life that many don't get to see. I've seen you grow both as a climber and as a person over the years. Today, we are not just here to talk about your achievements, but to share the lessons, stories, and strategies that anyone, athlete or not, can use to thrive. Arjun, thanks for joining us. Now, we all know about your insane adventures at high altitudes, but today we are digging deeper. We are talking about what's life really like behind the climber. How do you keep your mind sharp? What strengths have helped you in your way? And anyone out there dreaming of becoming an athlete, what's your advice for getting started? We are also diving into your top 5 strengths and how they have shaped your journey, not just as a climber, but as a person. Stick around, everyone. It's going to be inspiring, insightful, and maybe a little surprising.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Abhishek Bhai. I think it's indeed my pleasure to be here on your show. The last ones which I saw were very exciting on social media, and you're somebody who I've personally also looked up to always, in the sense of having this certain kind of control, which I see, which even in mountaineering we have. A lot of our mountaineers generally, we all are a different bunch, but you are somebody who I always look up to, and it's really fantastic being on a show here with you. So when you invited me, I had to be here.
Thank you, Arjun. Thanks a lot. Thank you for coming. So how are you, Arjun? Are you the same Pahadi Boy who's like, when you look up to a mountain, when you see a mountain, say that I want to climb. When you see a river, you say that, okay, I want to jump. Or things
definitely, I think somewhere or the else, I'm still a 16-year-old in my heart. That just doesn't seem to escape. Even though I have one too many grey hair now on my head, but the energy which I feel from within is still that of a 16-year-old. The excitement which I have towards exploring new places or exploring new ventures or working on newer ideas is still something which I still resonate to as that of a 16-year-old. So I don't think I have changed much. I think it's impossible for me to change as far as if you take an account of what my friends have to say about me.
So what's going on in life in general nowadays?
Life is busy. Life is good. I always try to chew far more than what I can swallow. So that's how it is. I'm still trying to climb a mountain a year. That's my goal. I try to refrain myself to a mountain. But last year itself, I went about doing 2 expeditions in a particular year itself. So last year I went about climbing Shisha Pangma. So I'm still climbing 8,000 meter peak a year. So passion is still going on. I've gone about pivoting towards. I had a dream of sowing the seed of adventure in every child across India, sharing the same kind of learnings and lessons and the beautiful insights which I got from mountaineering into every young child's mind. So we are running adventure school programs across various verticals and across more than I think 200, 250 schools already in India. Then I'm also putting my hand into where we are developing some infrastructure. So we are doing some kinds of like we're building climbing walls. So we create climbing walls, which has also become like an Olympic sport now. So a lot of exciting things happening. And then I also keep speaking here and there. I work as a motivational speaker also. So I keep going to various corporates and try helping them find the Everest of their lives. I think adventure has taught me so much. And I have so much energy from within. And I keep finding something or the else to do through which I can impart whatever I have learned from the mountains, whatever I have learned from these 8,000 meter peaks, to impart it through various ways. And then every new opportunity which I get is like a new challenge for me to go about exploring. And so yes, this is what I've been up to.
So mountains have very different kind of vibe, Arjun. You know, पहाड़ों में एक बड़ी अलग सी हवा होती है. Like I was born and raised in mountains. I've lived my childhood in mountains. So there's a different kind of air that's there, different vibe, and not just in पहाड़ों में. People who live in mountain, people who love to trek, people who love to explore. So how do you define that hawa, that vibe?
Nothing. I think it's a super charged up hawa होती है पहाड़ों की. हमेशा अगर आप देखो the fresh oxygen, as soon as it enter your lungs, you feel like there's a third lung which has opened up into your stomach. You know, you can breathe better. It makes you think clearer. You're more certain about your decisions, and I think that's just one of the many gifts which nature has to offer us. Like when we go out there and we are able to see as far as we can see. अगर हरियाली दिख रही होती है, अपने आप BP आपका ब्लड प्रेशर कंट्रोल में आ जाता है, सब कुछ कंट्रोल में हो जाता है. तो I think that energy is very special. Ones who can relate to it can relate to it. Mountains, any which ways, I think I personally feel I'm a little spiritual, that they act as energy centers. Their pyramid form naturally attracts a lot of energy from the Earth's crust. वो सब चीजें ठीक है, but मतलब I think just the freshness in the air automatically charges us up so much. We've gone so far away from where we actually used to belong, in between nature, to like living in concrete jungles, and this is where we feel secure now.
Yeah.
And as soon as we go out in the outdoors, we start feeling insecure.
Yeah.
But that feeling is not natural.
Yeah.
I must say that.
Right.
Only if you are able to go out still in the jungles or in natural areas, surround yourself with nature and feel comfortable. Yes, that is a very natural feeling.
Right.
तो सब में होनी चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से.
Yeah.
So mountains do have this, I think, sense of charged upness with the fresh oxygen which they impart with us.
एक बड़ी अलग सी mountains are calling.
Mountains are calling is a yes. I don't know, बेचारे call कर रहे नहीं कर रहे.
Different people go for different reasons.
That's go for different reasons. I must say, motivations come in all
different
kinds
forms.
of packages and forms.
Not everything can be discussed.
So everybody, yes, you know, there are all kinds of people going towards the mountains, and they get attracted from various things which the mountains have to offer.
Right.
But I think in all, if we broadly also look at towards mountains, they also stand for, like, you see, a lot of healthier lifestyle, cleaner air, cleaner food. It just establishes you as a much more stronger rooted person, you know, who can live at least a full life.
Right.
दिन में धूप के अनुसार आपका दिन शुरू होता है, धूप के अनुसार आप अपने आप sun goes down, you also pack up.
So you're chasing sun entire day, you know?
हाँ, you're literally chasing sun the entire day. So it's I think it's a very nice environment to be in.
Right. For me also, you know, so I was born in a mountain town. So for me, I have really enjoyed just standing in front of Himalaya and just, you know, looking into Himalaya and talking to Himalayas.
Right.
A very different vibe that you get.
Or naturally, because I'm sure just going to school and in your normal, as a part of your daily everyday childhood, I'm sure you must be walking as much as probably what people are nowadays training है ना, या वो steps गिन रहे होते हैं आजकल नए नए तरीके आगे quantify करने के fitness के. Everybody's counting steps and digitizing it so much. उससे ज्यादा तो आप बचपन में स्कूल जाते हो और वापस आते हुए चल लेते हो.
Every day it used to be like 2 kilometers
2
uphill
kilometers uphill.
and 2 kilometers downhill, and in
So
between we used to play.
So mountain lifestyle came more naturally to you.
Yeah.
हाँ, मैं नोएडा से निकला था तो मुझे फिर भी ट्रेनिंग करनी पड़ती थी.
Right. So, not many people know about one thing, Arjun, which I want to talk about today, because I've traveled quite a lot with you and I've stayed together. What I see is that you have a specific morning schedule. You have a ritual. Whenever we've stayed together, you are someone who starts your day with some bhajan, some spiritual song. Why do you do that? Does it something which
Just-
comes naturally to you? And
It's also, I think, somewhere subconscious. So obviously there's a lot of positivity. We don't
Yeah.
have to I don't have to tell you what is 2 plus 2. It is nice only. And just starting a day, I think it was inculcated somewhere or the else. Early was inculcated by my father. Being a early riser, he was from the paras. My mom also. My mom was a artillery officer's son.
Right.
So sorry, daughter.
Right.
And I was the product of both of these people meeting. My mom is an artist. My father is a paramilitary officer. He was from the special forces. So he was always an early riser. हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा हो जाता था कि अगर 6:30-7 बजे तक अगर आप बिस्तर में हो अभी भी तो मतलब मौत आ गई. मतलब आज आपके आप सही में बीमार होने चाहिए, है ना, या तो कोई बहुत बड़ी बीमारी हो चुकी होनी चाहिए तभी आप बिस्तर में होने चाहिए. So other it was not allowed. You have to wake up. You have to make your own bed. There were some habits which are inculcated in us very early on in our lives. And somewhere or the other, I think that is also there subconsciously, that you always tend to resonate and rely more on the things which you were taught to you in your growing up days. And also, I think naturally also it comes to me, I'm actually an early riser. I don't, हम लोग रात का चमगादड़ नहीं हूँ मैं. मुझसे ज़्यादा late night खड़ा नहीं हुआ जाता है. And also I like waking up early, like being able to see the transition in light. Right. Is something which I really like. Those days I've spent training most of my growing up days when I used to wake up early. Right. Because traffic होता था Great Noida Expressway पे, बड़े trucks चलने शुरू हो जाते थे. Right. So I would go early in the morning. Right. To train, because long distance cycling करनी होती थी, पहाड़ के लिए training करनी होती थी. तो 3 बजे उठता था, 3:15 बजे तक बाइक पे, and फिर ठंड में हो चाहे गर्मी हो तो 60 kilometers cycling. तो वो जो transition दिखता था मुझे, orange sky early in the morning from extreme darkness to how it is all becoming, it is getting engulfed by light, used to be something which I personally generally like observing. Right. So naturally I've been an early riser always. Right. And you follow that routine very regularly. Always, because yes, I really enjoyed, yes. So एक तो बात होगी कि early riser वाला routine, and plus उसके साथ साथ I always, मतलब जैसे हमारे यहाँ बचपन से हम लोगों को बताया जाता है कि अच्छा ज्यादा डर लगे गायत्री मंत्र पढ़ लेना, है ना, बहुत ज्यादा डर लगे हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ लेना. तो मुझे याद है जब मैं एवरेस्ट भी गया था तब मॉम ने, I used to be, when I was in my teens, I used to be almost a very strong atheist, है ना, नॉन बिलीवर, बट अकॉर्डिंग टू जितना भगवान उस टाइम पे दिमाग था, जो ज्यादा नहीं था, बट मम्मी ने हनुमान चालीसा दी थी, उसको लेके गया था. तो आई हैड माई ओन लेट्स से fight with spirituality and my own thoughts and everything on what I should do. And then finally I just stopped listening to anything and everything else, and I just started listening to what felt good. And I think these old chants which we have in our culture just really help us calm down. So I usually start my day like this, where I wake up, right, and it helps me put myself into a zone which is very comforting. Right. It comes very naturally. It goes along with my schedule. थोड़ी शांति होती है आपके दिमाग में, आप उठते हो, आपने नींद से वैसे भी थॉट्स कम हो जाते हैं. Right. I'm generally a person who has a lot of thoughts in his head. तो सुबह उठते तो those help me little meditate, channelize my energy in a positive way, and that's how I usually start my day. Right. Wherever I am, it does not matter what I'm going to do. It can some days follow up with, let's say, a workout routine. It can some days follow up with sometimes just rest. And it can some days follow up with just work. Right. Sometimes with the nature of work, because we're involved in schools, I have to attend a lot of school march past and sports days and annual days. So I have to be, जैसे स्कूल वाला रूटीन होता था, सुबह सुबह मॉर्निंग असेंबली अटेंड करने पहुंचना पड़ता है. तो though I left school a long time ago, I feel like I have not left school because of the nature of our work also. But it's a beautiful feeling. It's a wonderful way to, I personally feel, start your day. Perfect. In fact, I have, what I remember, Arjun, is that you have a very great sense of sensing energy. I remember visiting a temple with you long time ago, sometime in 2018, 2019, when we were traveling for a week together. Right. And we went to that temple, and you said that I think किसी ने यहाँ पे बहुत तप किया है, बहुत energy है यहाँ पे. So how do you sense that? Nothing. Just it feels ऐसे कुछ नहीं. Because you go in extreme mountains where there is a lot of loneliness, or what? From where does
this sensing energy comes?
I think we all can feel and read rooms, है ना? And मेरे साथ क्या है कि मैं थोड़ा सा extremely emotional इंसान हूँ. मैं बहुत expressive हूँ. तो मुझे जनरली मैं अपने जो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा होता है वही मेरे दिल में होता है, और जो मतलब मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा होगा वही मेरी जबान पे होगा. तो थोड़ा फिल्टर्स कम है, एंड इस वजह से आई डोंट नो, आई एम एबल टू समटाइम्स जस्ट रीड इमोशंस, रूम्स more sensitively. Probably that is that, but also I definitely feel that a lot of time spent by yourself, a lot of time spent chasing dreams, working on yourself, is it in itself a spiritual journey also.
Right.
Just having a dream which is seemingly impossible,
Right.
and being able to slowly attain that kind of focus, that kind of energy which is required to slowly take on that path on an everyday basis. Because manifesting your dreams बोलने में तो बड़ा cool लगता है, but जब करने जाओ तब फिर समझ में आता है कई बार ये, if you just have to rely on yourself, it's a very long process, and sometimes it takes years and years and years of just trying to become fitter or better versions of yourself, or acquire a new skill set. So I think it's a meditative zone which you have to get into. With my sport, it came naturally to me because I was always an athlete. With my kind of nature, it came naturally to me in my life because I had to train a lot. I was born asthmatic. I had childhood asthma. I used to be involved in a lot of sports always.
Yeah.
So training for sports made me realize that meditation can be of various forms. You don't need to always just sit down on a mat and do chanting or do something like this. Olympian might be, getting into his zone probably in the last kilometer of his marathon, or a swimmer might do it while he's pushing the last leg of his race. That's how mountaineers also do it. Mountaineering, again, going towards the mountains, it having like a very spiritual side and aspect to it in our growing up days also, in the culture which we come from. So इसका सबका culmination है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है.
Right.
Me having this thing of being able to sense just energies, and पुरानी जगहों पे होता ही है मेरे हिसाब से. You do feel, I think, old temples in India, so many generations have seen, so many people. I think it does affect the energy of the area.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So often, athletes, and especially people who are in adventure sports, like extreme sports like yours, people in general label them as superhumans, and it is a good label also. And at times, it might also feel that, okay, I'm not a superhuman. I really work hard for this. So what is your take?
I personally feel that this superhuman, godlike feature, which often people say the special amongst us will ever taste, I think is, as said by, it's a very famous line, no? It's not something which only the special amongst us will ever taste. It truly does exist within all of us.
Right.
सबको भगवान ने equal दो ही कान दिए, दो ही आंख दिए, दो ही lungs दिए, दो ही हाथ दिए, सबको सब कुछ equal मिला हुआ है. I think it does matter. Heredity does have its own role to play, but I think your environment does give you enough opportunity to mold yourself for your future, or at least for what you desire.
Right.
So superhuman ability, I think, is in everyone. It just matters how bad you want it.
So just labeling superhuman is, I think, overrated.
Definitely.
What goes behind
120%,
chasing that dream?
Definitely.
Is a lot of effort. Like, if I recall my conversations with you, every time, you are chasing something, either you are chasing somebody to support you for the expedition, either you are preparing yourself. So there's a lot of training and a lot of rigor goes in everything that you do. So superhuman, labeling somebody as superhuman is not a right way.
Definitely, I think, but I think it is also rightly said, because it is inspiring in some way or the else to a lot of people to call some people superhuman. When you look at Ronaldo, or when you look at some exceptional people who are extremely fit, they do seem superhuman, right? So you look at some of these artists who are able to create some of these patterns. It does look superhuman, no computer, no scientist. So I think we all do have that uniqueness amongst us. We must identify it and work towards our strengths, as we always like to focus, right? No point trying to find what all your weaknesses are, as you also always keep telling me.
So it's like your talent backed up by a lot of investment in terms of skill set, in terms of discipline, in terms of daily habit. That is the formula to become a superhuman. And no one is born superhuman. It's just that, when you talk about athletes like Ronaldo, maybe Virat Kohli, Sunil Chhetri, anyone, they all are talented, definitely.
Right.
But they have also really worked hard. Like you are talented, you you're a really talented person, but you have equally worked hard to achieve whatever you have achieved. Yeah.
I do agree to that, because see, having a routine, having that discipline, having a focus, it does determine when the chances are so bleak, right? Or this chance, let's say the chances of success, failure, 0 point failures, as this is sometimes, that of you making it to your destination are so high, right? That you have to try and beat the odds, and those kind of odds you can only beat if day in and day out you are focused and you can put in that hard work which is required. When people are eating, you should be working hard. When people are sleeping, you should be working hard. Only and only if you can like really breathe in and out, literally what your dream is and what your passion is, I think everything is possible. There is nothing which is not achievable. I personally have felt this feeling. You feel like Hercules because you live in so much control that you literally feel that you are chiseling and you're crafting your future each day at a time with the choices that you make. Sometimes do obviously disappointment does come knocking on your door quite very often in especially these such daunting dreams when you have like sometimes I have faced this thing. Mentally you feel very challenged, but there is no light at the end of the tunnel, so you do feel कि क्यों कर रहा हूँ मैं every day, है ना? कई बारी ऐसा भी लगता है, but it is a known formula, and I think we should not differ from it, that failure should be your best friend, and only failure is your best friend, and you're okay with it, and yet put in the hard work every single day. There's nothing which can stop you from like doing whatever you have to.
There's a good news, Arjun.
Yes.
And the good news is that nowadays a lot of parents are very open to
Right.
send their children. They want their children to become athlete,
Right.
pursue sport, make career out of it. But let's say when you started, that time this trend was not that in.
Right.
But now that today a lot of parents are very much open about it. How do you suggest if someone wants to become an athlete, maybe in any field, what is the right age to start taking it seriously? And what all preparation is required? Is there any plan B that they should also keep in mind, or just simply back plan A? What do you think?
I think when you're so young and when you have all the time in the world ahead of you and a future, a life full of surprises waiting for you, one must try and focus early. Because if you start early, there's nothing which can beat you in life. If you start your routines early, if you start your hard work early, especially nowadays, I must say the coming generation, children, youngsters, whoever is going to be listening to this podcast, I'm so jealous of all of them, because the kind of facilities, the kind of access to sports infrastructure, equipment, which is now, which the youngsters now in India are getting, we used to crave for it. Like I especially used to crave for it even back in, let's say, 2005 or 2006. Finding a decent pair of basketball shoes or football shoes in Noida used to be so difficult. It was such an ambitious thing to even dream of, that it just feel कि यार मतलब हाँ मतलब बहुत बड़ी चीज होती थी. आज की डेट में I feel that the access to equipment has really gone up. Infrastructure is developing really well, and the right age to start chasing towards your dreams. To all the parents out there is no limit. Like children can start as young as even preschools, where if you can channelize their energy, understand what do they desire, what do they really want, right? You'll make them one of the most beautiful human beings ever. Not just beautiful, but also successful. Because they'll grow up doing something which they love doing and they're good at it. Right? They don't have to suffer or go through this learning curve, because their learning curve which they'll go through of development from not being good at doing something to being good at doing something, that will automatically happen in their younger days. Masti mein nikal jayenge then, and that is when I think they can just have a head start on everybody or their peers or whosoever will they be competing at a world stage. So must start very early. Fitness at children can start at preschool days, and there is nothing to stop them after that, I think.
So a lot of parents, Arjun, who come to me, and my friends especially, they want to ask, and it's a question that I'm asking to you on their behalf. So at what stage, what age they should start taking sports very, very seriously? That what are those indications where a parent get from their child, that now this child is ready to pursue sports seriously? So what happened in your case,
See, I personally feel because of me being born with weak lungs, that really pushed and motivated my parents to push me towards making my weaknesses into my biggest strengths today. Right? But I feel that parents don't need to wait for finding out अच्छा कि or having a child who's physically weak in order to make them into one of the strongest people ever, है ना, ऐसा करने की जरूरत नहीं है. I think it starts on very early child. जैसे हम education के बारे में इंडिया में बात करते हैं, we unfortunately forget about early child physical fitness also. Right, we make children do, हम बोलते हैं बच्चा है भागा दौड़ी करता रहता है, फिट रहता है. नहीं, early child fitness is also very much necessary, unfortunately, because we don't anymore live in the times where we humans are still doing hard labor, or we have lifestyles where children are getting exposed to certain amount of physical activity. We must try and inculcate it as actively as we try to inculcate academics and मतलब let's say higher cognitive skill sets जितना हम बच्चों को impart करने की कोशिश करते हैं, उतना ही physical skill sets भी impart करने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए. Because somewhere or the else, I personally feel we can take the example of nature, right? I feel कि अगर एक पेड़ physically बड़ा ही नहीं हो पाता तो वो proper fruit bearing कैसे करेगा? Same thing is with, I think, if a child cannot fully take its complete full form, how will it ever be able to perform higher cognitive skill sets? We keep forcing the child to perform higher cognitive skill sets, but we haven't created their frame structure well. So you must focus on it very early. And somewhere or the else, the inspiration behind Climb Up Adventures was also the same thing. We wanted to focus on early child fitness, early child education. That is why first we came out with extensive programs for school-going children. क्योंकि वहाँ थोड़ा सा Indian parents का comfort zone था. They were still okay with sending their children little bit outdoors, little bit within school. अभी भी जो हमारे primary school के बच्चे हैं, we have to do something within the school premises because parents aren't that comfortable. Now soon enough we are coming for something with even preschools where we are not going to leave preschool children also, because nowadays preschool में बच्चों को आपसे थोड़ी सी stretching और थोड़ा सा योगा करा के नहीं छोड़ सकते. क्या पता we have the next महेश भूपति और सानिया मिर्जा और
अर्जुन वाजपेयी
और अर्जुन वाजपेयी और let's say a बाईचुंग भूटिया और सुनील छेत्री coming out of those places. And the kind of fitness programs which we are running also under Climb Up Adventures is very generic. We don't focus to them towards कि अच्छा आपने पहाड़ चढ़ना है या आपने टेनिसी खेलना है या ऐसे नहीं. It is just general fitness which children should have. Right. Somewhere the inspiration also came from, I have a niece. मैंने उसको भी नहीं छोड़ा है. हम लोग, she lives in Dubai with my sister and she goes through an extensive course of calisthenic fitness. And if you look at her today, she's 4 years old. She can outperform even an 8 or a 9-year-old. So those are the kind of magic which these tiny toys are packed with. There is no lower limit to it. The younger you catch them, the better it is.
So just to tell our viewers, this is not a promotion. Arjun Vajpai is also an entrepreneur. He runs a company called Climb Up Adventures Limited, and they are doing exceptionally wonderful job, especially in the field of early childhood fitness. That's what he was talking about. So I just thought to tell this to our viewers.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Yeah, so they are doing fantastic job, and when there's a lot to learn from Arjun and Arjun's team about early childhood fitness. In case you are interested, you know the man.
It's very difficult actually. Most of the times, बच्चे तो बहुत मतलब you look at them, they love, you leave them alone, they love keeping themselves busy. When every education conference or places where they invite me, I go, I always talk to them about ये क्या concept है कि हफ्ते भर में इतनी classroom में और एक PT period. मैक्सिमम बहुत ज़्यादा woke school होगा, बहुत आगे futuristic school होगा, तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 2 PT period हो जाते हैं. But what is this unfair मतलब biasness towards academics being so much? We are developing the child's brain so much, but उसका जो hardware है वो नहीं develop कर रहे आप. Software update पे update मारे जा रहे हो आप उसका. वो बेचारा hardware कभी तो crash करेगा, उसका hardware अगर ढंग से नहीं बना रहेगा. So we try to focus on that basically, and parents are the most biggest मतलब दिक्कत होती है उन लोगों को ना to send their children out of their comfort zone. So we have to constantly, it's a constant battle. Children, you put them through anything. They really take it to the pintos और they really enjoy. दोस्त यार होने चाहिए, टाइम पे खाने को मिल जाए बस, उसके अलावा हमसे कुछ मत पूछो. They really enjoy all the activities which we put them through. Parents are the more hard to convince ones, because just the mindset, they are not used to. मैं पेरेंट्स को ऐसे बोलूँगा अपने प्रोडक्ट्स पे भरोसा रखे, है ना. इतना ऐसे नहीं होने वाला कि कहीं भी चले जाएगा. इंसान के बच्चे बहुत स्ट्रांग होते हैं, है ना. ह्यूमन बीइंग्स के बच्चे इतने एकदम वीक नहीं होते. उल्टा नेचर में देखो दूसरे बच्चे तो और भी थोड़े वीक होते हैं. इंसान का बच्चा फिर भी बहुत स्ट्रांग निकलता है. यू मस्ट ट्रस्ट इट, एंड द अर्लियर यू कैच देम एंड पुट देम इनटू फिटनेस, the more chances they have of likely becoming a world champion, or let's say not even a world champion. Even if they don't take it up professionally, they'll be happy human beings, fit human beings who can healthily lead their lives.
Yeah, so absolutely, parents have a very vital role to play there, and many times, I'm also a father. Yeah, you're right. That applies to me also. As a father, I'm really scared many times to push my daughter out
Right.
of her comfort zone. But with time, after spending my time with you, I've learned, and I've been able to successfully push Alina
Alina also.
comfortably out of her
So
comfort
nice.
zone. And
I'm
there,
very
we
happy.
discovered a lot of things, interesting things about her.
Right.
It was not about related to sports, but whatever, she is able to find her niche and she's enjoying
Absolutely.
pursuing what she's doing. Yeah.
And here I would also like to say, ऐसा नहीं है कि हम बोल रहे कि with parents, some parents might say physical fitness is not necessary. No, it is up to a certain point. It is for the growth of the child. Beyond that, yes, child automatically भगवान जब बच्चे बड़े हो जाते हैं तो उनको बोलने का वो देता है, तो it expresses कि अच्छा what I like, what I don't like, and they must be given the choice. Like if tomorrow, let's say I was a child from Noida,
Right.
मेरे माँ बाप चाहते हैं 14 साल की उम्र, 15 साल की उम्र मुझे थप्पड़ मार के घर पे बिठा देते. My father was struggling to run a factory in Surajpur. My mom used to be working in a call center at HCL. So times were very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, the industry was not running very well, and for them to have a child like me, जो मतलब पढ़ाई भी नहीं कर रहा है ना, academically एकदम गोल है, बेचारे उनको लगता था क्या करेगा ये लाइफ में अपने, है ना. So they always wanted, they were worried for me, and parents naturally are worried, but they yet supported me. I still remember.
Right.
Regardless of all the जो जितनी मार पड़ी वो तो पड़ी साथ में, है ना, जो सब रहता था, बस इतना ट्यूशन सब चलते थे, उसके अलावा भी they always never stopped me from playing sports. They always never stopped me from developing a passion. They pushed me to play also, but they were like, yaar, at least manage the show here.
Right.
So I was very grateful to my parents. Even when it came to mountaineering, I hadn't had their support,
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to pursue my passion, because for a 16-year-old, it does not matter if the entire world disbelieves you.
Yeah.
Right? All that matters is, do your two parents who you are seeking validation from are standing behind you regardless of whatever outcomes happen or not. So that kind of support was, I think, one of my biggest superpowers. It is still one of my biggest superpowers. So to all the parents out there, you have a very vital role. Right? You cannot forget your support is invaluable to your young one, and they should be able to vouch on you, or call upon you or rely on you in terms of their dreams.
Yeah.
If they don't have your support, I think you're already taking away a large part of their passion and their devotion towards what they like doing.
Right. Arjun, I want to ask about something which is very, it could be very personal, and you may choose not to answer.
No, please.
I mean, like all of us, like I've worked in corporate, now I'm running my own company. Like athletes, do athletes also have some kind of insecurity? It could be an athlete from any field, because I mean, whatever athletes achieve, they achieve a lot. There's a pressure to achieve a lot at a very young age. So like, people who are doing a job, they can continue doing their job and they can wait for their success for late 40s, maybe 50s. That is the time a lot of people become CEOs. They reach up to their potential, but a lot of people also reach early. But athletes, I mean, they play various sports. Any sport you talk about, cricket, football, mountaineering, there is a pressure, constant pressure of achieving something. Because age is something which plays a vital role here. So then, what kind of insecurities and vulnerabilities athletes?
I think athletes can definitely go through a lot more of everything in every aspect. As you were just mentioning, I was just thinking about it all, from emotional turmoils to financial insecurities to performance pressures to mental stress. Right? There are all kinds of things which go through. And see, somewhere or the else, we must say, being a part of a sport where at least there are decent enough sponsorships, financial backing, a lot of your mental stress gets lesser, and you can focus more on performance.
Yeah.
When we talk about lesser known sports, right, the challenges are even more heftier. Lesser recognized sports challenges are even more difficult, because then you're not just fighting your opponent, but then you're fighting a system, you're fighting a society. Sometimes you're fighting for various reasons according to wherever you are born and whatever it is are all around you. Yeah. So it does, there are various kinds of pressures. Vulnerabilities are also there. As athletes, I would be very frank and let you know, yes, they're absolutely there. It is not easy to see youngsters, especially coming from behind, or seniors questioning you all the time. So I think it's a natural learning curve which all athletes go through. Coming from a sport like mountaineering, if I just talk about my personal sport also, I had to be very enterprising. I had to always be doing chimney climbing, sometimes on this side of the wall, sometimes on that side. I'll come constantly keep pivoting, constantly keep finding newer and newer enterprising ways of attracting more people into my idea because I was passionate about this. It made me into something, or it gave me a feeling from inside which was irreplaceable, right?
Yeah.
So I had to do this. Mountaineering को क्रिकेट की तरह तो था नहीं, तो बहुत डिफिकल्टी होती थी एक 8000 मीटर पीक के एक्सपीडिशंस के लिए, जैसे फंड रेजिंग करना यूज्ड टू बी वेरी चैलेंजिंग एंड कन्विंसिंग पीपल स्पेशली इन नॉर्थ इंडिया, क्योंकि जहाँ पे मतलब आप माउंटेनियरिंग की बात करो तो लोग बोलते हैं कि हाँ मैं भी पिछले साल वैष्णो देवी गया था तो आई एम लाइक नहीं अंकल ये एवरेस्ट और वैष्णो देवी सेम नहीं हो सकता. So the relatability used to be less, knowledge was less, exposure was less. Over the last 15 years, I'm very happy that the Indian outdoor scene, adventure scene has become very, very different. A lot of young Indians have become adventurous. They're going outdoors. The outdoor trekking scenario has developed quite a lot. There are a lot of new startups, new companies which have come up we like to call it the Great Indian Adventure Revolution. So a lot of things, exciting things are happening. There's a lot of influx of outdoor adventure gear into the market if you go to see. So काफी exciting times हो गए. It has changed quite a lot, but challenges were there. Again, when I started, there were many challenges. But I think there are pros and cons to the whole thing. And somebody who bites into it is the one who feels that it's worth it. And then obviously, whatever failures come your way and success, you have to take it with a pinch of salt and you have to say, हाँ मजा आ रहा है.
So there is another good news, Arjun, that people have started very seriously talking about role of mental health in sports. Right. I've seen a lot of sports persons, not just international sports persons from various fields. They have started talking about mental health, and they have come very openly talking and addressing mental health issues. And so, do you think mental health plays a vital role in any kind of sport, especially in your sport like mountaineering?
So I think mental health does play a very big role in. So I think mental health does play a very big role in every athlete's life. We've seen in individual sports which are very popular, athletes come forward and talk about the mental pressures of performance, fans, audience, while you're performing, sports being broadcasted around the world. It does affect them. In a sport like mine, thankfully there's no audience. So we are climbing alone on the mountain, but it has its own cons also. When you're dealing with the mountains, let's say above 8,000 meters, the margin of error is very low. So nature does not know the difference between a big mistake or a small mistake, or it does not know the difference between rich and poor, old and young, man or woman. छोटी mistake पे भी वो equally आपको करता है. You have to face the consequences, and बड़ी mistake पे भी. So often we pay the cost of mistakes on the mountain with life itself.
Yeah.
So that is a differentiator, let's say, amongst other sports and this. When I was more younger, losing team members, I think used to be, coping used to be easier, or probably emotional quotient wasn't that developed on the mountain. But now it does. You have to learn how to deal with that part of also the journey, where you end up sometimes losing team members in front of you, sometimes because of your mistakes, sometimes because of their own mistakes. Things build up on the mountain, and that is the truth of mountaineering also. Cost of exploration has to be paid with life itself sometimes not just life, मतलब मरना ही जरूरी नहीं होता हमारे स्पोर्ट में. कई बार already affects you quite a lot. Fingers are going off, है ना. You have to cut fingers off sometimes. Frostbite is a very natural occurrence. Heart attack can happen. So a lot of the nature which we are in is very dynamic out there. We are very lucky to see nature in one of its most virgin states, but it is a double-edged sword, right? And if it can show you such beautiful things, wrath of nature can also kill you very easily. You're literally like ants on a mountain if you go to look us as mountaineers from base camp and where we are climbing. I remember when my parents I took them to Everest base camp in 2021. They looked at the Khumbu Glacier in front of them, and after this 7-8 day trek to base camp, they're like, "Tum log pagal ho." And this is like my father is like a paramilitary special forces officer. So ऐसा है हमारे sport में. So mental pressures are there, and one has to deal with them. I always like to say this thing that the mountains outside gave me an opportunity to climb the mountains within, and sometimes they made me realize what was missing from within. Sometimes we create versions of our own self which are unable to do things which we sometimes think, but we are not familiar with other versions of ourselves which we can achieve anything also. तो ऐसा रहता है, they have their own battles. I feel all of the viewers also today who must be listening to us, they might be able to resonate to it. We all are climbing our own mountains,
Right.
and we don't have to be climbing real mountains like me actually, but we all have our own mountains to climb, and for that we all need to be mentally fit. And I think meditation really helps in that, something which really came to my rescue through the challenges, through the pressures which I felt as a mountaineer, sometimes financial, sometimes social, sometimes ego, the image of yourself, various aspects were affected as I went through my journey as a professional mountaineer for the last 15, 16 years, 1.5 decades. As I say it only, I feel a little older. But I still have that energy of the 16-year-old. The likeness towards my mountain, the love towards it is still there. So I still want to go back, even though sometimes it does affect me now in ways which can get difficult to cope from. With age, as I'm hitting 32 now, this coming June, I will be. I'm realizing that my body also has its own capabilities. I'm no more a spring chicken where I can just bounce back anytime I want to after like 2 weeks of after 2 months of climbing, and then again I'm back on track. ऐसा नहीं हो पाता. So mentally you need to keep yourself fit. Only then rest, physical recovery, physical rest actually affects you also. And any kind of thing. Mental fitness is very crucial, I feel, and mental health does matter. We must focus on it. It is high time, especially with the kind of lifestyles which we are leading now, Abhishek, by nowadays. It's so isolated. Everybody has a very individualistic attitude. Thankfully, we live in India, जहाँ पे अभी इतना वो Western and European lifestyle नहीं आया कि बहुत individualistic approach है. अभी भी मुंह लटका के सड़क पे चलो तो 4 जने पूछ ही लेते हैं, हाँ भाई क्या हुआ, कैसे मौत आ रही है तो thankfully ऐसा है यहाँ पे अभी भी. दोस्त यार रहते हैं आसपास में, and that is why we must never lose the sense of society which we have in India also. Absolutely. It does help us mentally become stronger and more resilient. Especially when I go on 8,000 meter mountains, I meet people from all over the world.
India has cultures. A very, very interesting social support system, right? Which is available to everyone.
Correct.
Yeah, gradually it is becoming isolated, but it has been.
And it is our biggest superpower. We tend to sometimes feel so shy from it, or we try to be little bit away from it. But it is one of our biggest superpowers, because I tend to see when in situations of stress, when like my friends from Serbia or people from Australia or some country in some place in Europe or somewhere, people from US are like losing their shit literally on the mountain, and they are not able to multitask. हम लोगों को आदत है chaos में काम करने की. So we have a sense of natural calmness,
wrong side,
which just flows within us, and we are natural at handling high pressure, high pressure scenarios,
right?
And that just goes well with me. So I think even if like how mountains chose me, I always say कि मेरी जो खूबियां थी वो भी उसमें fit हो गई, और जो कमियां थी वो भी pros में change होगी जब मैं पहाड़ mountain चढ़ने के लिए गया.
Perfect. So Arjun, people see a very glamorous image of mountains,
right?
Is there any darker side to mountains?
Yes, we should realize that when you come in touch with nature, right, we have to be very respectful towards it. And I think the biggest dark side of nature is most people are not realizing it. Mountains are calling and everybody gang is that we are not really taking care of nature, and nobody's teaching children about conservation as importantly as they should be teaching. Nobody's talking about the mountains are our only source of fresh drinking water, that all these rivers which we are seeing, all these tals which we are seeing, lakes which we see, all this beautiful snowfall which we go and experience every year is all going to go. And the first species which is going to be affected by is going to be us human beings. Right. So, so many people are taking so many beautiful memories and so much from the mountains, but we must also talk about that the mountains are dying. The mountains are melting slowly, and we need to take responsibility somewhere or the else. Even though you are Pahadi by birth, I'm Pahadi by heart, but we both will resonate to the fact that today especially the Himalayan belt is crying for help, is depleting like anything, with the advancement of tourism and adventure tourism really taking a rise. There's seriously a lack of awareness.
Yes, everyone is trying to conquer something.
So
there are very few explorers.
अच्छा side दिख रहा है, but there's very few little bit of conservation which is happening. So with so much of mountains are calling, we must really aggressively put our foot down to save some of these natural resources which we have. Otherwise, it will be too late, and the future generations will definitely blame us for not taking actions, not being little bit more conservative with our approach towards the mountains,
Right.
because they are really the only source of fresh drinking water for all of us.
Right.
So if we really are mountain lovers, we must talk about conserving these mountains also, because otherwise there will be no tomorrow.
Right. So Arjun, you and I have spoken many a times about strengths. So let's talk about your top 5 strengths. So let me first of all share with everyone what are your top 5 strengths. So your top 5 strengths are maximizer, strategic, arranger, communication, and activator. So these are your top 5 strengths which you see, which I see you using regularly. Which is that one strength which you use really, really effectively and which you think has created maximum impact in you as an individual?
I think मैं बातें बहुत ज़्यादा करता हूँ, and
Communication.
हाँ, I think communication and influencing people, and my friends would agree to it also, that अच्छी चीज़ हो चाहे बुरी चीज़ हो, दोनों के लिए बहुत जल्दी influence कर देता हूँ मैं.
Right.
So it is a double-edged sword,
Right.
my strength, but I try to use it most towards my stronger side. I try to use it in a positive way, and I'm a good storyteller, I think. Over the years, just sharing my experiences since I was 16, 15, has I think just innately, it has just come to me also. And I've been able to, life has unfolded in a manner where I was able to, I think, somewhere or the else get better at it, practice it more and more and more and more, put in those, let's say, 10,000 hours of rigorous training time which it required, and I think this is my strength. I think that is what I like to focus on mostly. And the second one is which is also, I think, part a psychological disorder also, which is an arranger. It goes to a next level to things where if I go to people's houses, I'm arranging their photo frames and their table mats and their alignment check कर रहा होता हूँ यहाँ वहाँ का चीजों का, और वो मेरे घर में भी आ जाता है. And when you can identify, and people, it works both ways. If I'm not in a mentally right space, everything around me where I'm living, everything will be in a mess.
Right.
But if I'm in the right frame of mind and everything is going on, तो ऐसा हो नहीं सकता कि मतलब मेरी अलमारी color coordinated ना लगी हो. मेरा तो एक चीज में ऐसे attention to detail is too much.
Right.
So I think these are the two strengths which I really like the most.
Sure. Thanks, Arjun. So does knowing your strength has impacted you positively? Does it help?
I think yes, it has almost all the time. Every time there comes this there comes these days, rainy days, when the cloud cover is there and you have nowhere else to look, right? And sometimes self-doubt does seep in.
Yeah.
Right. It is very normal with such a questioning society, especially if you are a dreamer and if you want to go about doing something exceptional, which people have not done before. There are a lot of small men which you meet, small people which you meet, no people which you meet, which keep saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. And in those times, knowing your strengths plays a very, very crucial role, because it eliminates that self-doubt. And doubt is such a thing, it seeps, थोड़ा सा भी अंदर सीप इन कर जाती है, फिर वो ग्रो करनी शुरू कर जाती है आपके अंदर. तो knowing your strengths really helped me tackle this phase, this part of my side, that it helped me focus more on what I was good at doing, rather than trying to make a khichdi out of what I was not good at doing. I might get good at it or I might not, but I must focus on my strengths. And that is where I think knowing my strengths did play a very pivotal role in trying to keep my mind pointing in the right direction, trying to keep my mind pointing north.
So you also suggest that knowing strengths has some kind of impact, because it gives you self-awareness, has impact on the mental health or the mental build-up that we do to do anything in life?
Absolutely, because it gives you a spectrum. Now, I know my strengths can be also turned into, as we say often with strengths, double-edged sword, we use the word. It can also be a basement, right? As you very correctly always mentioned. Absolutely. Very so nice. It does give me a sense of awareness in that sense, that I have to be careful, because this can suddenly just turn around and destroy me also. So it does give me a spectrum of how I can use my strengths. It does position me well.
Right. So what do you suggest? You have been talking about strengths, and we've been talking about strengths for last 5-7 years, and you are someone who I see consciously use it. You work really hard to apply your strengths, and you understand what happens to you, nuances about everything. At what stage, looking back to your journey, you think children should start focusing on their strength, or people in general should start focusing on their strength?
I think as early as possible. Again, it's like fitness. The earlier you understand what your strengths are and what you're good at, I think the more clarity you have. There is nothing like I used to be from this mindset where I wanted to explore everything, see everything under the sun, black, white, or gray. I wanted to explore all areas of let's say, even communication. But I don't think it is worth it.
Yeah.
Right? One must focus on what there is. The grass always does seem greener on the other side.
Yeah.
So the mind often our curiosity is more exciting than actual reality.
Right.
So I think कोई फायदा नहीं है जबरदस्ती का इधर उधर जाके देखने का.
Right.
One must definitely focus on their strengths, and as early as you can start. I think if I don't know, I'm not in knowledge of it, where there's a program or something which where young kids can also go through, just based on their nature, just based on their just self-awareness, if they can go through some kind of an assessment. But I would feel that if they are able to identify it early, I would feel if somebody told me about my things or my strengths, right, and how they can sometimes, because my strengths have sometimes work against me also.
Right.
So if somebody had guided me earlier, it would have been better for sure.
Right. So Arjun, as a part of early childhood fitness program, and also as an athlete, you meet a lot of coaches,
Right.
who of various sports,
Right.
because you have not just been a mountaineer.
Right.
You have played football. You have played various games.
All of them.
So do you observe, in your observation, as you visit various fitness centers, sports centers, do coaches also equally give attention and training to kids, a budding sports person, about budding kids who are going to be great sports person someday? Do they pay adequate attention to the mental aspect also, or it is still more inclined? Because I remember when I used to train earlier in my life, the coaches used to pay a lot of focus on technicalities of the game, which is essential, which gives you fundamentals about that game. But do you think when someone wants to shape career in a specific sport, coaches should start focusing on the mental aspect right from the early days?
I think there should be a sense of overall mental health development also for the athlete. And from what I'm seeing, yes, certain places awareness is coming in. Coaches are also taking in account of the mental health playing a very, very vital role in the performance of the athlete. But I do feel Abhi India is still a long way to go. We have a lot of things to do here.
Yeah.
And that gives us the perfect playground to go in and bring about a change. Though now with a lot of newer technologies, internet coming in, there is a lot of knowledge bank which has suddenly start popping up on social media, and any coach with just a smartphone in their hand can access to the best coaching guidelines or mental health fitness tips. So they have the awareness, aisi baat nahi hai, but I do feel abhi there's a long way to go where they practically are implementing those, let's say, key takeaways or like tips from sports psychologists to inculcate in their athletes thing. There's still a trust factor which is missing, I feel, somewhere in, especially with the traditional, let's say, हमारे यहाँ के जो गुरु होते हैं और जो sports और जो PT teachers होते हैं वो लोग, they still need a lot of convincing to be done. But I think slowly they are going towards this, they are inclining towards it, and that is the way forward. It will be a 50-50% intake. It can't be just about physically developing a body, it will also be about mentally developing the athlete.
और अर्जुन, आगे का क्या प्लान है लाइफ का?
Plan is lots of exciting things. My dream is to finish the 14 8,000 meter peaks, as I always keep saying everywhere. I've done 8 out of the 14, 6 are remaining, but that is just not where I stop. My real dream is to build a climbing wall in every school in India, just like a basketball court, just like a volleyball court. I want to build like one climbing wall in every school across India and train more than at least 400 million students. 40 करोड़ बच्चों से ज़्यादा को मैंने training देनी है. ये मेरा मन है in the field of adventure, regardless of what they go about doing, because I feel it's a very beautiful feeling. Next thing, which then after that, which I want to do is that I still want to write a book, but I feel I can always do that later. But there are a few couple of passions which have taken a seat back due to mountaineering over the years. So I want to pursue those hobbies and develop those talents. But I still first want to finish these 2 goals because these have been lingering on for a very, very long time in my life. So first is obviously Project 8K, and then the dream of building climbing walls in every school in India.
Thank you, Arjun, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of On Top of the Game podcast. Thank you so much, Arjun, for joining. To all our viewers, I hope you really enjoyed the content. Stay tuned and stay with On Top of the Game podcast. Thank you.